Clerk, do we have quorum? Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
The quorum bell is currently on at the Senate to give some sort of leeway for senators who are yet to make their way into the chamber this afternoon to do exactly that, to necessitate the House to have the numbers to commence business this afternoon.
Proceed to call the first order, please.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Now, honorable senators, at this juncture, you may have to switch to the supplementary order paper, which has been circulated. I want to believe and trust that we all have a copy of the supplementary order paper. Clerk, you may proceed to call the next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Honorable Senator Boni.
This Senate. Beg your pardon? I go on? Yes. To lay the following paper on the table of this Senate today, the 21st Wednesday, February 2024, being the report of the Mediation Committee on the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Bills number 23 of 2023. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to lay the following papers on the table of this Senate today, the 21st of February 2024, being 1, the revision of laws, Order 2023, legal notice number 221 of 2023. 2, the National Government's Budget Implementation Review Report for the first 6 months for the financial year 2023-24. 3, report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Executive of Machakos for the year ended 30th of June 2023. 4, report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Machakos for the year ended 30th of June 2023. 5, report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Government of Machakos, County Revenue Fund for the year ended 30th of June 2023. 6, report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Government of Machakos, receiver of revenue for the year ended 30th of June 2023. And 7, report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the Machakos County Executive Committee and the Chief Officer's Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme for the year ended 30th of June 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, I also lay the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Executive of Kajiado for the year ended 30th of June 2023, and the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Assembly of Kajiado for the year ended 30th of June 2023, and the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the Kajiado County Emergency Fund for the year ended 30th of June 2023, and the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the County Government of Kajiado County Revenue Fund for the year ended 30th of June, and the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the Kajiado County Disability Mainstreaming Fund for the year ended 30th of June. And finally, but not least, the report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of the Kajiado County Assembly Car Loan and Mortgage Fund for the year ended 30th of June 2023. I lay, Mr. Speaker, and I thank you.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Dr. Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion: that the Senate adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bills number 23 of 2023, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, the 21st February 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Senator Agnes Kavendo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. The statement of Iyani Kiva, hearing impaired HI primary school in Machakos County, in Masinga sub-county. Mr. Speaker, sir, I arise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee of Education regarding the state of Iyani Kiva hearing impaired primary school in Masinga constituency, Machakos County, which was officially registered on the 28th of November 2023. In the statement, the committee should: 1, explain why the Ministry of Education has not funded Iyani Kiva HI Primary School in Masinga constituency, Machakos County, since its establishment in 2023. 2, find out why the school has only one classroom accommodating learners from all 9 classes and lacks other essential infrastructure such as dormitories and for both girls and boys, toilets and bathrooms. 3, clarify whether the Teacher Service Commission plans to deploy additional teachers to the school, as it is currently understaffed with only 3 teachers teaching all 9 classes, and 4, state measures put in place where the State Department for Basic Education to ensure that pupils in the school get to learn in a conducive environment. Senator Kavindu, MP, Machakos, Senator for Machakos County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. We know you, Senator. Senator Enoch Wambua.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a statement on the repair of rails at the Mlolongo Pay Point on the Nairobi Expressway. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing regarding the repair of rails at the Mlolongo Pay Point on the Nairobi Expressway, which were vandalized during the public demonstrations of July 2023. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a breakdown of the total cost incurred by the government to repair the rails at the Mlolongo Pay Point on the Nairobi Expressway, which were vandalized during the public demonstrations of July 2023. Number 2, disclose details on the award of the contract for the repair of the rails, as well as the identity of the contractor that won the award. And number 3, state how long the repair works took. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Samson Chirange. Any senator holding brief for Senator Chirange? The statement is dropped. Senator Beatrice Ogola.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare regarding the operations of Sukari Industries Limited in Homa Bay County. Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a copy of the Human Resource Policies and Procedures Manual of Sukari Industries Limited in Diwa Sub-County in Homa Bay County. 2, provide a list of all personnel currently employed by the company, indicating their respective designation as well as their terms of engagement. 3, specify the proportion relative to the total number of personnel of females and persons from the local community employed by the company. And Mr. Speaker, sir, lastly, the statement should furnish the Senate with the company's corporate social responsibility, CSR policy, providing details on all CSR programs undertaken by the company, their geographical coverage and beneficiaries. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Sifuna.
Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights regarding the predicament of Master Austin Karanja, a minor with hearing impediment or impairment who was mauled by school dogs on 28th of October 2023 at the Isinya School for the Deaf while heading for his morning preps, and who was subsequently forced to sit his KCPE in heavy bandages. In the statement, the committee should explain why neither the school nor the security guards in charge of the dogs have been held accountable to date following the attack on Master Karanja. Number 2, state the reasons for the school's subsequent refusal to hand over to the mother, Ms. Lena Nyaboke, the clothes Master Karanja was wearing during the attack to enable further investigations. And finally, Mr. Speaker, establish the complicity of security agencies within the senior area in covering up the attack on the minor, and further establish the safety and security of all the remaining pupils within the institution. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wakoli.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism regarding cooperative societies in Bungoma County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a list of all cooperative societies operating within Bungoma County, detailing their specific areas of operation. 2, list the cooperative societies funded by the county government for the financial year 2022 to 2023 and 2023 to 2024, detailing the projects implemented with this support. 3, state the criteria used by the county government to select cooperatives for funding, furnishing financial and audit reports of the cooperative societies funded by the county government and those not receiving funding from the county government. And 4, appraise the Senate on the compliance status of these societies with current regulations and the county strategies to enhance support for cooperatives financially and technically. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Maruma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this time to request for the statement on the processing of title deeds for estates in Taita Taveta County. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the processing of title deeds of Mwakingali B and Sikujua estates of Voi Sub-County, Taita Taveta County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state when the government will issue landowners of Mwakingali B and Sikujua estates with title deeds for their parcels of land, and 2, give reasons for the delay in issuing the title deeds. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Joseph Kamau. That statement is dropped. Next, order clerk.
Order number 8, motion. Extension of time for consideration of regulations in regard to Lake Olbolosat, the Karai Wetland, Mwangea Hills, and Larry Swamp catchment protection areas.
Senator Morfire, the chairperson, Select Committee on Delegated Legislation.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to move the motion that the extension of the time for consideration of regulations in regard to Lake Olbolosot, the Kalai Wetland, Mwangea Hills, and Lardy Swamp catchment protection areas. That are aware that the Lake Olbolosai catchment protection area, under legal notice number 116 of 2023, the Karai Wetland Conservation Area under legal notice number 117 of 2023, the Mwangela Hills catchment protection from order, legal notice number 118 of 2023, and the Lardy Swamp catchment protection area under legal notice number 119 of 2023 were tabled in the Senate on the 11th October 2023 and referred to the Senate Select Committee on Delegated Legislation for consideration. Realizing that the 28 sitting days timeline for consideration of the regulations lapses on Wednesday, 21st of February 2004, but owing to the magnitude of the work involved, the committee has not been able to complete its work within the duration. Realizing that aware that Section 15.3 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013 provides that by a resolution, Parliament may extend the time for consideration of a statutory instrument by a period of not exceeding 21 calendar days, noting that the need for more time to scrutinize the submission from the public engagement forums, especially the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, and the Council of Governors, Next page. It's not available. Now, therefore, the Senate resolved to extend the time for consideration of the Lake or Borosat Catchment Protection or Area Number, legal notice number 116 of 2023, the Karai Wetland Conservation Area under legal notice number 117 of 2023, the Mwangela Hills Catchment Protection Area under legal notice number 118 of 2023, and the Lali Swamp Catchment Protection Area under legal notice number 119 of 2023 by a further 21 calendar days until with reports on or before 11th March 2024. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Who is seconding your motion?
Do I have any member here? Honorable Montez to second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I second for the extension of the motion.
Now, honorable senators, I'll proceed to propose the question, which is that aware that the Lake Bolosat Catchment Protection Area Order Legal Notice number 116 of 2023, the Karai Wetland Conservation Area Order Legal Notice number 117 of 2023, the Mwangea Hills Catchment Protection Area Order Legal Notice number 118 of 2023, and the Larry Swamp Catchment Protection Area Order Legal Notice number 119 of 2023 were tabled in the Senate on the 11th of October 2023 and referred to the Select Committee on Delegated Legislation for consideration, realizing that the 28 sitting days timeline for consideration of the regulations lapses on Wednesday, 21st February 2024, but owing to the magnitude of the work involved, the committee has not been able to complete its work within the duration. Aware that Section 15.3 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013 provides that by a resolution, Parliament may extend the time for consideration of a statutory instrument by a period not exceeding 21 calendar days, noting that the need for more time to scrutinize the submission from the public engagement forums, especially the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, and Council of Governors. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to extend the time for consideration of the Lake Bolosat Catchment Protection Area Order Legal Notice number 116 of 2023, the Karai Wetland Conservation Area Order Legal Notice number 117 of 2023, the Mwangea Hills Catchment Protection Area Order Legal Notice number 118 of 2023, and the Larry Swamp Catchment Protection Area Order Legal Notice number 119 of 2023 by a further 21 calendar days and table its report on or before the 11th of March 2024. Now, honorable senators, of course, the floor is open, but this is a procedural motion. With your consensus, you may allow me to proceed to put the question. Thank you, honorable senators. Before I put the question, it is my determination that this matter does not affect counties, and therefore voting shall be by voice. I'll now proceed to put the question. That are aware that the Lake Bolosat Catchment Protection Area Legal Notice number 116 of 2023, the Karai Wetland Conservation Area Order Legal Notice number 117 of 2023, the Mwangea Hills Catchment Protection Area Order Legal Notice number 118 of 2023, and the Larry Swamp Catchment Protection Area Order Legal Notice number 119 of 2023 were tabled in the Senate on the 11th of October 2023 and referred to the Select Committee on Delegated Legislation for consideration. Realizing that the 28 sitting days timeline for consideration of the regulations lapses on Wednesday, 21st of February 2024, but owing to the magnitude of the workload involved, the committee has not been able to complete its work within the duration. Aware that Section 15.3 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013 provides that by a resolution, Parliament may extend the time for consideration of a statutory instrument by a period not exceeding 21 calendar days, Noting the need for more time to scrutinize the submission from the public engagement forums, especially the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation and the Council of Governors, now therefore, the Senate resolved to extend the time for consideration of the Lake Olbolosat Catchment Protection Area Order, Legal Notice number 116 of 2023, the Karai Wetland Conservation Area Order, Legal Notice number 117 of 2023, the Mongea Hills Catchment Protection Area Order, Legal Notice number 118 of 2023, and the Larry Swamp Catchment Protection Area Order, Legal Notice number 119 of 2023 by a further 21 calendar days, and table its report on or before the 11th of March 2024. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion. Report of the National Dialogue Committee.
Senator Karungo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity for me to comment on this report, NADCO report, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, having gone through the report, I have a few questions, Mr. Speaker, because the report by itself, it's not conclusive. It has left gaps, Mr. Speaker, in the sense that some bodies need to do something, Mr. Speaker. We are not out of the woods yet. Mr. Speaker, if you look at paragraph 263, that is page 73 of the said report, it's talking about electoral reforms, Mr. Speaker. And it says that within 21 days after the adoption of this report, a panel should be appointed to evaluate the 2022 presidential electoral process. Mr. Speaker, I ask myself, why only the presidential electoral process? Mr. Speaker, there are so many people, probably, who are aggrieved by the processes, the process of election in 2022, myself being one of them, Mr. Speaker, in the sense that there are people who are trying to use means that are unconstitutional, unconventional, immoral, to try and bar some people to run for office. Mr. Speaker, if this report was serious on dealing with matters election, it could have included everybody who was aggrieved by the previous election to come and table their report, Mr. Speaker.
What is the point of order, Senator Sifuna? Senator Karungo, Senator Sifuna wishes to inform you. Are you agreeable to that?
Mr. Speaker, he is my counterpart in number of votes that garnered, the highest number of votes garnered in this House, so I would allow him.
Proceed, Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, my chair for transport, for being gracious enough to allow me to inform you that the only reason the discussion centered about the presidential election is because the NADCO report had a history that was the dispute that was brought to the national table. If indeed there was any dispute in any other matter, it was not part of those negotiations, and I can confirm this because I was part of the initial committee. So that is the reason why the report makes no reference at all to the seat for Senator for Kiambu, which you won by a wide margin, and all your opponents accepted. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What is your point of order, Senator Cheriot?
Mr. Speaker, the two majoritarianists want to mislead this House in the sense that when I moved this report yesterday, and I don't know if Senator Karungo Thango was present in the House, Senator Sifuna, you are right but not fully right. The point is...
Majority Leader, let's get it clear here.
Is it in order?
Are you informing
No. It's on a point of order against Senator Sifuna, who's...
He's already had his moment.
No, but I sought your attention when he was on his feet.
Majority Leader, I wish you caught my attention when he was still on his feet. And
it was on a point of information.
And so, Majority Leader, unless your point of order is in relation to what Senator Karungo was.
Mr. Speaker, I thought, okay, let me better phrase it then. Can it be a point of information? Because what I want to say is useful for the debate of the House. You must appreciate.
Very well.
I drafted this report. It will be useful to the House.
Now, I seek to get permission from Senator Karungo so that you can inform him. Senator Karungo, would you graciously allow the Majority Leader to inform you?
Anytime, Mr. Speaker, from my Majority Leader. Anytime.
No, I'm glad he graciously accepted so that he's not misled while I'm here. Mr. Speaker, if you read the report, it speaks of audit of the electoral process, totally different from a presidential election. Therefore, when we speak about the electoral process, it is for all the 6 positions that were contested. This goes to the issue of registration of voters, the tallying process, the verification exercise. It's about a process, Senator Karungo Thango, and has absolutely nothing to do with the 2022 presidential election. Distinguish the two, and I'd wish that becomes clear, because yesterday I listened to many people refer to it as if it's still a continuation of the petition that was before the Supreme Court on the presidential election. They are totally different, Mr. Speaker, and I thought maybe Senator Thangwa will need to know that, as well as the members who maybe did not get that part well. I tried explaining it yesterday.
Proceed, Senator Karungo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm well informed, and for sure the Leader of Majority is right. I was misguided by the headline that was talking about audit of the 2022 presidential election. But when you go to the recommendation, it is for sure talking about 2022 electoral process. That means I do have an opportunity whenever that panel is formed to go before it and find out what happened, who are behind my woes at that particular time. Because, Mr. Speaker, for us to know where we are going, we must understand where we are coming from. Mr. Speaker, we have to look at the back of the side mirror, Mr. Speaker. We have to look back so that we can have a very democratic country. Mr. Speaker, I agree with this report on the issue of the days that the Supreme Court should take to listen or to hear the presidential election petition. Mr. Speaker, 14 days were not enough. So the report proposes 21 days. I believe that is a good moment to kill the tension that is always there in this country, and of course give parties enough time to do the investigation so that we don't go through what we went through in the previous presidential election petition, whereby we were treated with drama, with Camargo and all the other issues, Mr. Speaker, where people just downloaded images without due diligence. Mr. Speaker, on paragraph 559, that is page 179 of the report, it is talking about impeachment of governors. And if I can read that, Mr. Speaker, page 179, their recommendation, it is a one-liner. And they say, the committee recommends that Parliament shall fast-track enactment of a legislation to give a comprehensive guide to the impeachment process. Mr. Speaker, of course, this is the way. And that's why I don't understand why other people were agitated yesterday when this report just gives you direction of what you need to do from here. Whether it is gender, it's telling you the step that you need to take from here. When it comes to impeachment, it tells the House what we need to do
What is your point of order, Senator Gloria?
Mr. Speaker, I stand on a point of order, 105, misleading the House. It's not in order that Senator Thangwa tells us that this is more of a direction, because, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of gender, the report has been clear that it is not going to include legislative agenda because that will be handled by a multi-sectoral committee and not the amendments that will come because of this particular report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So what is out of order about that?
Mr. Speaker, he's misleading the House because he's saying that this report is just a beginning and that based on this report, other things including gender will be considered. Mr. Speaker, the report is very clear on the matters gender. The specific recommendations the report has said is that the issue of the two-third gender rule is kicked out and given to a separate committee, a multi-sectoral committee that is supposed to come with a separate report which will be adopted or moved or supported or kicked out as a separate issue. And that is what needs to remain clear as we are talking on the matter of gender.
Senator Karungu. Order, Senator Manzo, please.
Mr. Speaker, the good senator probably did not understand what I was trying to say. What I was trying to say, Mr. Speaker, is that in every topic, in every subject, the committee was giving a recommendation. And one of the recommendations was form a panel within 21 days. It was not conclusive in its it was not conclusive, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to the impeachment of governors, it's telling the parliament to enact. So it is the parliament to decide whether to enact or not. And it does not mean that when it tells the parliament to enact, it's going to enact directly, Mr. Speaker. So when the same report says that multi-agencies to sit down and come up with a framework matters gender, I mean, it's the same thing the report is saying on any other topic. So I don't see why anybody would be agitated that it was not included. To conclude, Mr. Speaker, I am actually ahead of this report, Mr. Speaker, because the bill is here with you, and I believe it's coming for the first reading within the next few days. The impeachment of governors. And not only the impeachment of governors, the impeachment of speakers of the county assemblies, and the impeachment of members of the cabinet of the counties, Mr. Speaker. So that bill is here. So you can see we are actually ahead of this NADCO committee. If we were given an opportunity to work, we could have done better than what they have done here, Mr. Speaker. So in the meantime, Mr. Speaker, I do support this report. And as I support this bill, I request members, and especially Kenya Kwanza, to support this report as it is, because it will give us an opportunity to do what we have always wanted to do the right thing, because we do have numbers going forward. So by passing this as it is, I mean, it's not going anywhere until we activate the processes as it is required by this report. So it is our time as Kenya Kwanza to show the world and show the country this is the time to give the country the best laws, the best legislation, and the best processes that are required. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for that opportunity. I support.
Senator Muma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak to this report. Mr. Speaker, first to commend the team that they were able to come together from across the divide and discuss key issues that affect this nation. Mr. Speaker, I hope that in future we can get to hear each other, listen to each other, agree or disagree, and see how to move in a manner that respects the laws of this country. Mr. Speaker, I will not dwell much, but I will speak to a number of the issues in that report. For me, the most important one, which is the cost of living for Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, I hope that all leaders particularly in the legislature and the executive will see the need to implement matters relating to the cost of living for Kenyans as the most important issue. Otherwise, all other things amount to negotiations around personal interests of the leadership of this nation. Mr. Speaker, I did not see serious, tangible issues around cost of living, and I would want to urge that the executive make an effort to demonstrate to Kenyans that this particular topic in this report is the most important one and is the one that Kenyans would want to see. And once the cost of living starts coming down, many will be able to see that as leaders, we actually care about them. And as it would be, negotiations or any consultations should first be about the interest of the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, second in importance for me is the issue of the 2/3 gender rule. Mr. Speaker, I am disappointed that NADCO committee elected to relegate a responsibility that was part of the mandate they had on the issue of the 2 gender rule, to give it aside to a committee, to the multi-sectoral committee, instead of addressing it. Mr. Speaker, NADCO members had the public. They received views from various Kenyans. And women of Kenya went and gave views around the 2/3 gender rule. For them to have come to the conclusion that they will not address this issue and put it aside is an insult to the women of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, it is relegating this issue to make it a footnote on something that is very serious. And they are doing this at a time when, for the first time in this country, we have a head of state that has put it in writing that he would want to see the issue of the 2/3 gender being resolved. Mr. Speaker, I understand all we can do about this report is speak about it, but we cannot suggest any amendments. I would like to call the head of state and the leader of the opposition to actually confer, and if necessary, to recall the committee of NADCO to sit, even if only for 1 week, in order to relook at one of these agenda items which they decided to throw out instead of addressing. Remember, NADCO is a report of a political consensus. So that political will, if it's there from both sides, they can actually call these people. They did not come from South Africa and elsewhere. They are within Kenya. That they can be told, go back and finish your homework. You did not address one of the TORs. So I want to call on everybody to take this seriously and ensure that matters of the 2/3 gender are included, particularly in any amendment bill that will be drafted as a result of the NADCO report. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the issues of delimitation of boundaries, this is an issue that is so important. We should collectively be ashamed that we have not triggered implementation of this issue, and in fact, we are in breach because matters delimitation of boundaries for constituencies and wards are provided for with timelines within the Constitution, but we have elected not to implement this. So we should look down in shame to the fact that we have not been able to operate in a way that implements this. So I hope that we will successively ensure that the relevant constitutional bills or any legislation are put in place to ensure that we implement these issues. Mr. Speaker, we have the issue of parliamentary funds, and I want to speak to the issue of the oversight fund, even as we discuss the the funds, the NGC, CDF fund, the NGAF, and the oversight funds, I want to urge Parliament to ensure that we structure these funds in a way that will respect the principle of separation of powers, so that we do not have constitutional provisions that are going to anchor development or functions of the executive into the legislature. We need to properly ensure that these funds retain the oversight role of the legislatures. And we would want, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that the ongoing current violation around the oversight funds in the Senate is redressed. Otherwise, we are going to have a contradiction in a provision that says the Senate is one when it comes to committees in oversight, but when it comes to funds, then it is separated into elected and the nominated members. Mr. Speaker, when we come to that, we need to ensure that we do what is the right thing. Mr. Speaker, we also have the issue of establishment of offices of the opposition, the official opposition, and the Prime Cabinet Secretary. My view, Mr. Speaker, is, again, as we establish these offices, if we must also respect the principle of ensuring that we are able to have a strong opposition to be able to effectively check the governments of the day. So we must structure it in such a way that the opposition does not become a puppet of the executive. We must ensure we guard that issue. And Mr. Speaker, back on the funds, I would hope that as a Senate, we will ensure any restructuring of funds will respect the devolved governance system and will not end up with laws that are going to claw back on devolution. So we want to ask that whatever legislative instruments come out of this report must only strengthen devolution rather than claw back on devolution. And Mr. Speaker, this happens to be tabled at a time when we are also looking at the budget policy statement, and have already seen in my initial read a few instances where national government is freely assigning itself functions that are belong to the counties. Mr. Speaker, so I hope that as we implement the recommendations of this committee, we will ensure that we are respecting the devolved governance system. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I hope that we can come up with an implementation mechanism on the various issues in order for this to go beyond just a casual political agreement, so that we are able to tell Kenyans, yes, it was worth it to come together, put the resources into this report, and we are going to implement for the betterment of this country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chimera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute on this very weighty National Dialogue Committee report. Let me first begin by appreciating and commending the committee members for a job well done, the industry, Mr. Speaker, the effort, the endurance that went into coming up with this report, Mr. Speaker, is very excellent, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the report has a number of very radical and progressive proposals, Mr. Speaker. The proposed recommendations on IBC reconstitution, Mr. Speaker, the proposed recommendations on how and the timelines within which, as a country, the Supreme Court has been accorded to listen to the presidential petition here and determine the same, Mr. Speaker, has been increased from 14 days to 21 days is fairly progressive, Mr. Speaker. Those of us who are advocates and those who know what it takes, all it means to draft pleadings, file the same, and submit arguments in or against their client's case, Mr. Speaker, 14 days surely has been a very short time, so to speak, and I am glad that the committee saw it in their own wisdom to extend that time from 14 days to 21 days, Mr. Speaker. Perhaps if we had the time, even 21 days, in my own view, I feel is still very little time, but this is something better for us, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the idea of funding IBC, Mr. Speaker, is also very progressive, Mr. Speaker. For far too long as a country, IBC has always been blaming lack of funds or inadequate funding to carry out, financially be equipped to be able to carry out its function, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the recommendation from the report on staggering the election, Mr. Speaker, is also very progressive. We cannot, as a country, keep on having 6 elections in a day, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I feel the staggering of our elections, Mr. Speaker, is very, very progressive in the sense that the IBC will have time to prepare for these elections. Even political players and participants will also have time to adequately campaign and prepare for this, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know much has been said by my colleague senators, and in the interest of time, Mr. Speaker, allow me to just speak to one very crucial recommendation that I feel is very positive from the report, Mr. Speaker. The issue on county boundaries, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is the proposal by the committee that Parliament shall within 6 months be allowed to enact the county boundaries bill so that at least counties can have a chance to resolve their disputes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as a person, I'm in court today on behalf of the people of Kanja Ocha in Samburu Chengoni ward because they have a protracted county boundary dispute with the county government of Cliff, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today, the county government of Taita Taveta, Mr. Speaker, is levying revenue, is collecting taxes from residents of Makinon Town. Makinon Town, Mr. Speaker, has always been a town that has always been a Kwale County town, Mr. Speaker. We have residents from Kwale who invested there, they vote there. The county government of Kwale has invested heavily on the infrastructure in Makinon Town. To be able to see that the county government of Taita Taveta today is allowed to collect revenue, Mr. Speaker, from a town that is in Kwale County, Mr. Speaker, is really an insult to the people of Kwale. And I am very glad that my colleague, Senator Moses Kajwang, saw it fit to bring forth the county boundaries bill here, that for the first time, Mr. Speaker, will allow us as Kenyans, as those of us who practice the law in various courts in the country, to have a legal framework within which we can address county boundaries, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of this particular report. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Beth Siango.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this chance to speak to this report. The NADCO report, allow me to start by thanking the individuals who were in this committee and did a very fantastic job. They did good work. Mr. Speaker, the issues that are addressed in this report are very good. They, in a way, make our work easier in this legislative house. And indeed, it's encouraging to see that we have a few Kenyans of goodwill who think well of this country. However, Mr. Speaker, the issues, I want to remember the time when this committee was constituted. It had taken some of us to go to the streets to demonstrate. Some of us were forced to take a lot of tear gas, whose effects is still in our bodies. Some of us were to run very, very far away.
And when, as a country, we came together and it was seen fit for this committee to be put together and address the issues, Kenyans had in expectations. And even now, we have expectations. I want to talk of the Office of the Opposition, Mr. Speaker, sir. I want to believe this proposal will make...
What is the point of order, Senator Cherangei?
Mr. Speaker, I stand understanding order 105 on statement of fact. Could the senator tell this House, when he says we went to demonstration, is she expecting the culpability of police officers that were injured and property that was destroyed during maandamano? Can she substantiate what he means when he says we? You know, Mr. Speaker, generations will judge us in future if we allow that to slide. Is she Senator Betsy Yengo or her coalition or who? And is she accepting culpability of the loss of lives and affront to the Constitution at that time, Mr. Speaker, sir?
Senator Cherangei, if you're keen enough, you must have heard the senator say some of us had to consume tear gas. And there's some things that are of public knowledge. So let's rest it at that. Proceed and conclude, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for informing my friend, Senator Cherangei, that when I said some of us, it is in public knowledge that we went to the streets to demonstrate. Mr. Speaker, sir, I was saying that the proposal by this committee that of having an office of the opposition leader is good for this country because we have been struggling within democratic space. And with the office of the opposition established, actually this will give the leadership of this country, as we check on the governance of the administration of the day, that democratic space will increase. Mr. Speaker, I am dismayed that in this report, there is nothing tangible about the cost of living, of which, as I mentioned, that Kenyans have expectations. And as we know, life is unmanageable. It is so disheartening to see that there is nothing tangible about the cost of living, and this did not come out to be addressed conclusively to give Kenyans hope. Kenyans need to be given hope and to know at least life can be bearable when the cost of living is brought down. Mr. Speaker, the biggest issue that I must mention on this report is the dropping of the issue on the 2/3 gender role. Mr. Speaker, I am the ODM Women League president, and the women in this nation look unto me to see how I stand for them, to defend their rights, and to push for their interests. It is very displeasing. I don't know what wisdom was used by the members of this committee to drop the issue of 2/3 from the report. Is it that women of this nation do not matter? Is it that the efforts that have been made by trailblazers who have been there before fighting for affirmative action does not matter? It is not good. Mr. Speaker, when this committee was sitting at Bomas of Kenya, different groups of women leaders in this nation, sat and made recommendations. They did proposals. They took reports to the NADGO committee as they sat at Bomas of Kenya. I remember I led the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition team to take our proposals of how we think, even included in NADCO, this will solve the issue of 2/3, how to actualize the 2/3. and many other groups. I remember all women movement groups in this country did presentations. Why were women allowed to do presentation if then this was to be dropped from this report? It is not good. Women of this nation are not happy. And I thought myself, because Mr. Speaker, I remember in this house, I had a bill on the actualization of the 2/3. I was approached by the CS of gender to drop my bill or to put it to hold, as I spoke to you, Mr. Speaker, about it, so that the CS of gender would put up together a multisectoral working group that will work on this. How does it sound to have the same dropped from NADCO report and the multisectoral working group being given more time, about 6 months? Kenya is not at standstill. Things are not stopping to wait for this team to bring up their report. Mr. Speaker, I understand we may not do anything about bringing back the issue, but I would borrow words from one of us that if the same committee could be recalled, and the good leader of majority looking at me right now sat in that committee, if only they could accept to sit for 1 week and at least bring back the issue of the actualization of 2/3 in this country. And the women will fight for the majority leader, will fight for the whip, will fight for every man in this country. If only we feel that men care for the women of this nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And at that, I say the report is good, but the issue of women should be considered. Thank you, sir.
Senator Wamatinga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I also arise to support. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me start by commending the team that sat together. Indeed, the fact that they were able to sit together and come with some conclusion, it is a great achievement in itself. In a country where people are used to facing each other, are used to talking at each other, are used to fighting each other, are used to disagreeing just for the sake of disagreeing, it is indeed a great achievement that they've come with a bit of a recommendation that will give us a platform upon which, Mr. Speaker, sir, we can build a way forward. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is not lost to us that there are quite a number of things that we did when we passed the 2010 Constitution. There are some of those, and I belong to those who believe that we could have changed the Constitution and then emigrated. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, I do remember in our desperation to have a new Constitution, there was one camp that said, tupite, tupitishe, tubadilishe baadaye. And there are those who say tubadilishe alafu tupitishe. This report, Mr. Speaker, sir, it seeks to redress the issues that were omitted. And I find it very bold that despite the differences we have in the political arena, people can come up with a suggestion on the way that we can move forward this country. I'm fully aware that, Mr. Speaker, sir, that this country belongs to all of us, despite our political inclination. It is indeed very important that we start looking at those issues, the perennial issues that will come every 5 years and face this country like we've never had an election before. Mr. Speaker, sir, the issue of IEBC must be decided in sober mind. The issue of 2/3 gender rule must also be decided. It is not lost to Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we need to have our sisters, our mothers, our daughters equally in power. At least, Mr. Speaker, I think you must all appreciate, currently as it is, we have 7 women governors who have not been appointed, but they've gone out there and fought for to be elected. Some of them even have flawed very, very strong men. Mr. Speaker, sir, moving forward, this is a spirit that we must encourage. We must have a platform, a fair playground for everybody. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is not also lost to me that we do waste a lot of time trying to engage on things that we could have solved several decades ago. I find this report, Mr. Speaker, sir, that it is a very, very good stepping stone for us to be able to handle issues, for us to be able to encourage ourselves to look at facts as they are and moving forward to conclusively solve them. Mr. Speaker, sir, it would be deceptive for us to say that the report did not address the cost of living. Mr. Speaker, sir, It is known to everybody in this house that the dollar, which has been skyrocketing, using its own dynamic, is now coming down. Mr. Speaker, sir, we all know that cost of living is a combination of several factors. One of them is the conducive environment upon which people work. It is the good outlook that people have. Currently, Mr. Speaker, sir, without the intervention of the government, because of the good lanes that we've got, because of the subsidized fertilizer that we've got, the cost of living, the cost of flour that was costing about 300 shillings just the other day, now is going to about 100 and still going down. Mr. Speaker, sir, these are some of the things that you cannot hold on a paper. These are some of the things that can only be gotten and can only be won by a combination of good policy, effective framework, accountability, and governance. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would want us to challenge ourselves as we sit in this house that this document as it is, it gives us an ample document upon which we can be able to negotiate, we can be able to address, we can be able to relook, and we can be able to get a conclusion and a solution to most of the problems that face this country. Mr. Speaker, sir, this can only happen if we come with utmost good faith. This can only happen if we start not looking at ourselves as them against us, when we start not talking at each other, but talking with each other, so that we can be able to say, this country needs people and leaders who can bring a solution that the future generations one day will say, yes, the 13th Parliament, when they sat and met, when they had the NADCO report, they were able to provide a platform upon which to build a solid country. Mr. Speaker, sir, as I commend the team that sat together, despite the political differences and the political temperatures at that time, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a commendable document, maybe not a magical document, but it is highly commendable, a platform upon which we are able to form the basis of future negotiations. Moving forward, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think everybody has learned that it does not need to take anybody to go to the streets, to throw stones, to take tear gas, that we can change this country by simply having a dialogue, talking to one another, and deciding this is the way we want to move forward. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support.
Senator Kavindu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to this document. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to commend the team that came together and sat and compiled this report. The only issue that I want to raise, Mr. Speaker, is about the truth agenda. This is an issue that has really been eating Kenya for a long, long time. And it is not very easy for any woman to go out there and come back with a seat. It takes a lot of strength for any woman to go out there and vie together with men and come back with a seat. Because of the bullying that we get from the men, one has to build a very thick skin to be able to stand against the abusive words of men and all the bullying of men. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm not very happy that this truth agenda was dropped from the report. And remembering that when the president was campaigning, he even promised women that it would be 50%, and not even two-third, but 50%. So for them to have dropped it, was not the right thing. Mr. Speaker, sir, about the opposition leader position, this is even overdue, because I remember I was in BBI and we had recommended on the BBI report that we should have opposition leader position with a shadow cabinet and fully funded by the government, so that there must be checks and balances in the executive by the opposition leader. And so I'm really happy about it. Mr. Speaker, sir, another issue that we had recommended in BBI is about the MCRs receiving 20 million to be able to work without pleading and begging for mercies from the governors. Right now, the senators, we have received the oversight fund. Women rep have the gap. MPs have the CDF money. but the MCRs are left out. And I actually expected this to be in this report because in BBI we had recommended that. And I'm also asking, like two of the senators who have spoken before me, if this can be held a little bit for the gender things to be put in and for the MCRs to be considered with the World Development Fund. And any other thing that was left out. Mr. Speaker, sir, what I'm not happy about is the cost of living, because cost of living is very high
Senator
on this.
Kavindu, just a minute. What is your point of order, Senator Gloria?
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Understanding Order 105. Mr. Speaker, Senator Kavindu has said that we have received the Senate Oversight Fund. Mr. Speaker, I think maybe she's referencing to the elected senators, because the nominated senators who are still playing oversight have actually not received the Senate Oversight Fund. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That is a point of information. Proceed, Senator Kavindu. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senator Gloria, don't be wasting a lot of time.
Just proceed with
Thank you.
Contribution.
The cost of living, Mr. Speaker, is very high. We who are going down to the ground know what the ground is saying and how the ground is feeling the cost of living. Because wherever we go, even some people have no food. Even as we talk, as we say that unga imeteremka, the people are crying. People are having it rough. You saw, Mr. Speaker, even the e-citizen way of paying school fees. You saw a clip that was running around. A man took literally goats to a shopkeeper and said, put this in the e-citizen so that I can pay school fees. Put this and I'll go and bring the firewood. I mean, some of these things, they are good, but there are people who cannot be able to do it. So we must also check how those people are going to be catered for in the government, so that they can also live comfortably. And I pray and I beg that the taxes be reduced, because Kenyans are suffering. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I support this report.
Senator George Mbugua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to also add my voice in this report. Mr. Speaker, allow me first of all to appreciate the members of this committee for a job well done in producing this report. Honorable Speaker, there are so many recommendations in this committee. And of importance to me, Mr. Speaker, is the recommendation that the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection shall expand the scope of Social Protection Fund to include all persons with severe disabilities in this country, Mr. Speaker, and also the recommendation that in consultation with the National Council, Honorable Speaker, that the correct data for persons with disabilities in this country shall be corrected. Honorable Speaker, I also like the recommendation on the pending bills. This country, Mr. Speaker, the county governments have put so many Kenyans into poverty because we passed the budget here. We recommend that the pending bills be paid and nothing happens. And Mr. Speaker, I recommend the committee for that recommendation. Honorable Speaker, the recommendation on the operationalization of the Public Benefit Organization Acts of 2013 is welcome to the civil society of this country, Mr. Speaker, because we appreciate that the government cannot do anything. And this will enable the civil societies to mobilize funds to help the vulnerable in this country, especially persons with disabilities. Honorable Speaker, I'm also in support of the recommendation by this committee that county government should be held to account and to ensure that not more than 35% of the ordinary revenue is used to remunerate the staff. Honorable Speaker, what is happening in our country is that the county government has become employment bureaus, and what is happening is that we are only employing people and very little is happening in terms of development. With these few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support the adoption of this report. Thank you.
Senator Maruma.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa hii fursa ili kuchangia kwa hii ripoti ya NADCO. Kwanza niwape shukrani viongozi wetu wa pande zote mbili, Rais na kiongozi wa upinzani Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga, kwa kukubali ya kwamba ni vyema tukutane ama kuwe na kamati ya kukutana ili mazungumzo yafanywe. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, si mara ya kwanza ambayo tumejipata katika hali ya kuzungumza ili kuhakikisha kwamba Kenya inaenda mbele. Wakati wa kwanza kulikuwa na mazungumzo kama haya ni mwaka wa 1997 kwa ile ambayo iliitwa Ufungamano Initiative. Wakati tukafanya mazungumzo na kukawa na pande zote mbili za kisiasa kukubaliana ya kwamba tuwe na tume ya uchaguzi ambayo Wakenya wote wanaiunga mkono. Mwaka wa 2008 Mheshimiwa Spika, kulikuwa pia na mazungumzo baada ya Kenya kufanya uchaguzi mwaka wa 2007 na mambo pia hayakuwa sawa na Wakenya wakakubaliana kwamba ni vyema wakutane ili wazungumze. Mwaka wa 2018 Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati wa ile ambayo inaitwa handshake, pia aliyekuwa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta pia walikutana na kiongozi wa upinzani Raila Amolo Odinga pia, na kukawa na ile inaitwa BBI, kwa sababu ilionekana ya kwamba Kenya kama tutaendelea mbele kuna watu wanafinyika na hawasikii kama wana amani. Katika mazungumzo yale ya BBI, ingawaje hayakufikia mwisho kwa sababu ya koti ilitoa mwelekeo kwamba kulikuwa na kumaliza katiba ama katiba ikufuatwa vizuri, mambo kadha wa kadha yalijitokeza ambayo yalipelekea kubadilishwa kwa katiba. Saizi tena Mheshimiwa Spika, mwaka wa 2022 tulifanya uchaguzi na pia kukawa hali ya kutoelewana na matokeo ya siasa ama ya uchaguzi, na tukafikia ya kwamba ni vyema pande mbili za kisiasa zikutane ili kufanya mazungumzo. Na hii ndio ripoti ambayo tunaijadili ambayo inaitwa National Dialogue Committee report. Mheshimiwa Spika, tuko na fursa nzuri ya kupeleka Kenya mbele na kufanya mazungumzo ambayo yatapeleka Kenya mbele katika mfumo wa vyama vingi vya kisiasa. Na kwa kizungu sahi tuko katika kitu inaitwa constitutional moment. Wakati wa kupitisha katiba ya 2010 tulisema ya kwamba kuna vipengee ambavyo ni vizuri na vingine ambavyo si vibaya kama 20%, na kukawa na maelewano ya kwamba tupitishe hii katiba lakini ifikie wakati tuiangalie tena. Wakati wa hii kamati ikifanya kazi yake, na kamati ilifanya kazi nzuri sana, kulikuwa na uhusishaji wa wananchi ama public participation na maswala mengi yaliibuka. Na katika mapendekezo ya kamati ya NADCO walisema kuna mambo ambayo yatasuluhishwa ama mapendekezo ambayo yatatekelezwa kwa kubadilisha katiba, na mengine yatatekelezwa kwa kuunda sera na sheria za kisha kwamba mambo ambayo yamejadiliwa ama mapendekezo ambayo yamejitokeza yatatekelezwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, la kwanza ni mambo ya upigaji kura, electoral justice kwa kizungu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kulipendekezwa ya kwamba kufanyiwe audit ama uchunguzi wa vile kura
Boni, you're out of order.
Wa vile kura ilienda, na nashukuru kwa hilo pendekezo, kwa sababu tukishafanya uhasibu wa vile kura ilipigwa basi tutajua ukweli wa vile mambo yaliendelea. La pili Mheshimiwa Spika, ambalo linanifanya niunge mkono hii ripoti ni mambo ya kuweka CDF, ngaf na pesa ya oversight ya maseneta. Mheshimiwa Spika, maendeleo mengi yamefanyika katika magatuzi yetu kupitia hazina ya maeneo bunge na ile ya ngafu. Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono hilo, na pia naunga mkono kuweka katika katiba hii pesa ya oversight ya Senate kwa sababu tayari kama maseneta tuko mashinani na tunafanya uangalizi ama oversight ya kutosha kuhakikisha kwamba pesa inayoenda kwa magatuzi ambayo inatumika na magavana imetumika vizuri ili wananchi wetu wapate huduma inayofaa. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna mambo ya mipaka na ripoti imesema kwamba kuundwe tume ama kuundwe kamati ama bunge iunde sheria ya kuangalia kwamba mipaka imeangaziwa, na kuna wasemaji wengi wamesema kama Seneta Chimera, Seneta wa Makueni, wameongea kuhusu mambo ya mipaka. Mambo ya mipaka ni swala sugu sana Kenya. Katika hii seneti nimeleta haya maswala ya mipaka kati ya Kwale na Taita Taveta na Makueni, na pia tukienda kule Isiolo na Meru, tukienda Kericho na Kisumu. Maswala haya ni nyeti sana, na nafikiri hii kamati isaidiane na bunge ama bunge itekeleze mswada wa County Boundaries Act ambao utaangazia mambo ya kusuluhisha mambo ya mipaka ya counties, kwa sababu ni swala sugu na kuna wakati hili swala linaleta maafa. Mheshimiwa Spika, la lingine Mheshimiwa Spika ambalo lilijitokeza katika ule mchakato wote wa NADCO ni kwamba kuna constituency ama maeneo bunge yanaitwa kwa kizungu saved constituencies, kwa sababu idadi yake haijafikia ile idadi ya maeneo bunge. Kwa mfano Taita Taveta kuna maeneo bunge kadhaa ambayo hayajafikisha ile nambari, na katika kutekeleza mapendekezo ya hii ripoti inatakikana zile constituencies ndogo ndogo zihifadhiwe na zile constituency ambazo zina watu wengi basi zipate kupatiwa constituency zaidi, ili kuhakikisha kwamba pesa constituency hazipungui kulingana na kipengee cha 189 cha katiba, kwa sababu ni kweli kwamba kuna constituency ambazo ni kubwa lakini kuna zingine ziko ndogo, lakini kwa sababu ile CDF ama ile hazina ya CDF imeleta pesa nyingi sana kwa constituency ama kwa magatuzi, si vizuri zile constituency, Mheshimiwa Spika, kupunguzwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, mengine ambayo yalijitokeza ni kwamba kuna rasilimali ambazo ziko kwa counties na counties zingine hazifaidi kutokana na hizo rasilimali. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa mfano Taita Taveta kuna mbuga za wanyama ambayo 62% ya Taita Taveta iko katika Tsavo National Park. Nashukuru kwa sababu kuna wakati rais alitembea kule Taita Taveta na akasema ni vyema kuwe na mgao wa 50 kwa yale makusanyo ya Tsavo National Park, lakini mpaka sasa Mheshimiwa Spika, hilo halijatekelezwa. Na katika hii report ama kutekeleza hii report, nafikiri kutakuwa na msukumo fulani ili kaunti zote zifaidi kutokana na rasilimali zao ambazo ziko katika kaunti zao. Kwa mfano kule Narok kuna Masai Mara National Park ambayo moja kwa moja inafaidi Narok County. Kule Kajiado kuna Amboseli National Park, na rais juzi alisema kwamba ile Amboseli ifaidi moja kwa moja watu wa Kajiado, na saizi katika mchakato pia sisi tutasukuma ya kwamba ile Tsavo National Park ifaidi mtu wa Taita Taveta moja kwa moja. Mheshimiwa Spika, na katika ule mchakato wa kuangalia vigezo vya kugawanya ushuru katika counties ama revenue sharing formula ambayo inakuja mwaka wa 2025, tutasukuma na kuhimiza wenzangu pia watuunge mkono ili kuwe na kigezo ama parameter ya kuhakikisha kwamba zile rasilimali ambazo ziko katika county pia makusanyo ama ile pesa inayokusanywa kutoka kwa zile resources basi imefaidi ama imewekwa kama kigezo cha kugawanya ushuru ambao unaenda kwa counties zetu, ambao Mheshimiwa Spika unaitwa shareable revenue. Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kusema kwamba mambo ya ugatuzi kwetu ni muhimu sana, na ningefurahia kama Hii NADCO report ingependekeza ya kwamba kuwe na pesa nyingi za
Senator Mariam. Senator Chesang.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to make my contribution on the NADCO report. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the committee which sat and let me just start by saying I want to appreciate the good job they did. Now that this report also brought peace to this country, let me just start by appreciating them for taking their time for this dialogue. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague, Senator Sifuna, because I heard him yesterday say that he withdrew from this committee, from this dialogue. I was just trying to imagine that if he was present, this dialogue would still, this committee would still be, the dialogue will still be continuing till now, but he said he withdrew for the betterment of a good report. Madam Speaker, matters food security, and I've heard so many senators talking about our cost of living. Madam Speaker, I believe the government has tried its best to try and reduce the cost of living by first and foremost trying to provide subsidy fertilizers to all our farmers. I, being a farmer from Trans Nzoia, I have seen that, and I'm sure many farmers in this country have can testify that they've had subsidy fertilizer at a very low cost at 3,500, and now the government is giving subsidy fertilizers at 2,500, which is already in my county, Madam Speaker. Secondly, I would like also to urge the government that to make sure that we sort this out, Madam Speaker, I want to maybe give my recommendation or my suggestion to the government that the government has so much land, and we have many of our jobless youths outside here. We appreciate the government on trying to create or maybe put ICT hubs across the countries. We have seen the government trying to create jobs in different other avenues, but we still have many of our youths who, maybe not all of them, Madam Speaker, can go to these ICT hubs, or maybe most of them will not go to, maybe as the President said, Kaptengele to access these ICT hubs, or not. Maybe all of them have no interest in terms of in matters ICT. So we think, I just wanted to say that the government should train, maybe provide land and train our youths on farming so that we can assist each other. It matters food security and also create jobs to our youths. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, I'd like to support what Senator Kavindu talked about in terms of the governors who are misusing funds, Madam Speaker. I'd like to say that I support the senator from Kiambu's bill by giving the MCS their freedom, making sure that they receive their funds, and also, Madam Speaker, support that we as senators from various counties would be part, or maybe would be co-chairs of the committees that call our governors. It does not make sense when a senator from a certain area is just called to a committee as a friend of the committee. So we want to be part of and parcel of following these funds and making sure that we do our oversight well. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I'd like also to support the women in this House and say that let me support because I love women, okay? No, I want to support the third, the two-third gender rule, that it's also, it should be included because I believe in the saying that says, what a man can do, a woman can do better. And I can see, Madam Speaker, you're smiling. So, Madam Speaker, I'd also like to appreciate the fact that the other day when we were having our PG in Naivasha, the President confirmed that all our women in schools are going to receive free sanitary towels, the same way as our men receive free condoms everywhere. No, I'm trying to, it's the truth. When you go to each and every toilets, you'll find free condoms. And I know even Senator Eddie has a condom in his pocket, but I know it is not a necessity. So I think I want to support the fact that I therefore I support this report, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
What's your point of order, Senator Eddie?
Madam Speaker, you see, Migori people are watching this particular debate. And Migori people, and by the way, Madam Speaker, I'm standing understanding order number 101.4. Both content of speech and improper motive. You see, Madam Speaker, Migori people are watching this debate. And they know they have a man. And this man is not any mischievous man. Because I think that in my culture from where I come from, anybody who uses condoms, Madam Speaker, I have to pronounce myself on this because my name has been mentioned a very, very serious thing. Madam Speaker, it can be misconstrued as somebody who is not straight and doing his things in straight ways and not committed.
Senator Eddie,
so, Madam Speaker,
Senator Eddie, please just address yourself to the point of order.
Yes, so the point of order here is that the Senator Alan Chesang, has called my name in a way that
you say under 104, please look at the...
101. Okay. So, Madam Speaker, I just wanted to ask my good friend, Senator Chesang, to apologize, withdraw, and also tell the House that if I have got any act to commit, I will not commit it under any darkness.
Senator Eddie, please sit down. Senator Chesang, either withdraw the comment you've made and apologize, or confirm to the House that Senator Eddie has a condom in his pocket, please.
Madam Speaker, I think, Madam Speaker,
Order members, let's just...
Senator Eddie did not let me finish. You know, Senator Eddie is my good friend. What I was trying to say...
Senator, it's not what you were trying to say. It is what you have said, so... And I actually heard you said he has a condom in his pocket. Please.
I said might, because it is not necessarily that he takes these things to go and use them. What I was trying to say, Madam Speaker...
Senator Chesang, please either confirm that he has or withdraw, please.
I said might, Madam Speaker. I said Senator Eddie might, and why I said this, Madam Speaker...
Senator, please listen to me. You either confirm or withdraw and apologize, please.
Madam Speaker, I cannot withdraw something I didn't say. I said Senator Eddie might, because let me explain, Madam Speaker. I said we have these things for free and we do not necessarily need them. The way our women need sanitary towels. Yes.
That I heard clearly.
Yes.
But
so what I said, Madam Speaker, is Senator Eddie is my friend, and sometimes we go to the short call together and we take these things for fun and we don't need them. So he might even have. That's what I said, Madam Speaker.
Senator, that is not what you said. If we go to the Hansard, you will find that's not what you said. Senator Eddie?
Madam Speaker, you know you're taking this matter lightly. Actually, Madam Speaker, I don't know whether there's sanction for things like defamation and other things, but I want to plead. Madam Speaker, and I won't let this go. That tomorrow, yeah, that you must confirm with Answered, you must confirm with Answered now if Senator Chesang said might or he said I have a condom in my pocket. I want the answer to confirm. And if answer confirms otherwise, Madam Speaker, I would want serious damages compensated here. Because I was expecting that perhaps Alan Chesang wanted to ask the ladies on the majority side who are excited about this matter to come here and confirm. You know, Madam Speaker, some of these things you just confirm. But I think that it's appropriate for the senator to withdraw and apologize to me for that kind of defamation.
Senator Eddie, can you sit down? I have just conferred with the clerks who said, who indicate that Senator Chesang said you could be having a condom in your pocket. Now, that is not saying that you have a condom in there. So, Senator, to the extent that that reference to Senator Eddie is offensive to him, I request that you withdraw. Please do so that we move on.
Madam Speaker, I withdraw and apologize. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. Senator Asige.
Thank you, Speaker. Sometimes the conversations that happen in this House really are mind-boggling when there are pertinent issues that need to be discussed, which include this NADCO report, and I wish to start my contribution, Speaker, by beseeching the committee that they go away and consider an addendum to be made to this report, taking into account all of the issues that have been raised already by colleague senators that are missing in the report, as well as those that will come after my own. I believe that an addendum is not something that is far-fetched. It is still within the power of this committee to hopefully decide to move in that direction. And so I beg the mover of this motion to consider that as we continue. Speaker, I'll immediately draw attention to Chapter 3 of the report, particularly paragraph 522 on page 168, which addresses outstanding constitutional matters regarding governance. This section emphasizes the need of national unity and inclusivity in public appointments, delving into the values and principles in Article 232 of the Constitution. Among these principles is the vital involvement of citizens in policy-making processes. Furthermore, the report underscores the constitutional commitment to providing fair and equal opportunities for appointment, training, and career advancement across all tiers of public service of men and women, members of all ethnic groups, and persons with disabilities. Speaker, It's important to highlight that we are still far from meeting constitutional values and principles, particularly in the inclusion of persons with disabilities. Case in point, Speaker, of this committee itself. Diversity was met in terms of gender. There were men and women on the committee. Diversity was met in terms of different political parties being seen in the committee. Also, we had diversity in terms of different parts of the country as well being included, represented in this committee. But unfortunately, I am not aware of any committee member that had a disability. And this is exactly the reason why this is to the mover of this motion. This is exactly why we say diversity is imperative to have when it comes to any decision-making table, because there will be voices and perspectives that may be left behind by virtue of not having that seat filled on that table. And in my case, in my submission, I am unfortunately disappointed that disability or persons with disabilities were not represented in this committee. Currently, only approximately 1.4% of the Public Service Commission's employees are PWDs, Speaker, falling short of the constitutional threshold by 3.6%. And in the private sector, I believe reports say that Safaricom are at around 1.2%, still below the 5% threshold. The objective of my first recommendation to the addendum of this report is to amend the County Government Act, number 17 of 2012, so as to provide for representation of persons with disabilities in the county assemblies. Article 177 of the Constitution, as read with Section 7 of the County Government Act 2012, provides for the membership of a county assembly. Section 7(1)(a) of the Act specifically provides that the county assembly shall comprise of 6 nominated members, contemplated in 177 of the Constitution. This provision only gives an overall figure of the nominated slots, but does not decluster the slots, Speaker. What exactly does this mean? This means that of the 6 slots in every county assembly that should represent special interest groups, because the 6 are not clearly allocated to say, for example, 2 will belong to persons with disabilities, 2 will belong to youth, and 2 will belong to workers. Because there is not that clarification in the Constitution, what has happened for years, and even in the last election, Speaker, is that county assemblies continue to run unconstitutionally because they do not have any PWD representative within them. In the last election of 2022, Speaker, there have been at least 21 county assemblies without any representation of disability in them, including this one that we're sitting in today, Nairobi, the capital city. Of approximately around 120 MCAs, Speaker, there are none with disabilities, even though the Constitution says that there should be representation within every county assembly. Uasin Gishu is also one of them, as well as Narok and several others in the 21 that are listed. As we said, the issues arising, parties submitted these nominations, but placed us as PWDs at the tail end, and therefore we are left out in representation. My recommendation, therefore, seeks to implement the principle of at least 5% of members in elective and appointive bodies to be persons with disabilities. This will ensure adequate representation of PWDs in the county assemblies. The objective of my second recommendation, Speaker, to the NADCO report is to amend their Constitution 2010 to provide for additional seats in the National Assembly and the Senate in order to implement the principle of at least 5% of the members of the public in elective and public appointments should be persons with disabilities. My recommendation proposes to amend Articles 97 and 98 of the Constitution to ensure that 5% of members of the National Assembly and the Senate are representatives of persons with disability. This is intended to increase representation of PWDs in Parliament so as to address the historical exclusion of persons with disabilities from decision-making processes, like this one, resulting in laws and policies that do not fully reflect our unique challenges and needs, by ensuring the adequate representation of persons with disabilities in government. My recommendation aims to ensure that our voices are heard and our interests and needs are taken into account in all decision-making processes. Madam Speaker, it'll interest you to know that right now, out of 67 senators in this House, there are only 2 with disabilities, which is not 5%, as has been enshrined in the Constitution. That means that we are moving and operating unconstitutionally. In the National Assembly, there are about 350 members of Parliament, and only about 159, I apologize, 359, thank you, members of Parliament in the National Assembly, and only approximately 11 are persons with disabilities. And that is a mixture of both elected and nominated, which means that 5% of 359, we are below that for sure. Again, running contrary to the Constitution. And we are Parliament, the people who are meant to be the custodians of the law. My recommendation further amends Article 91 and 101(1) of the Constitution, which provides for allocations of party list seats and vacancies in such seats, respectively, as a consequence of the amendment in Article 97 of the Constitution, if passed. Speaker, as the Treasury reviews cash transfers for older persons, as outlined in paragraph 458, 1 on page 144 of the NADCO report, I notice a lack of mention of persons with disabilities. It talks about the elderly cash transfer, and I wish, Speaker, for the mover to encourage and to beseech the rest of the committee to be very specific and very intentional on emphasizing every single word, because once one word or 2 words are omitted,
Senator Kenywa.
Asante sana Bi Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii. Kuanzia mwanzo nataka kuunga mkono ripoti hii ya NADCO Bwana Speaker, Bi Speaker, na niseme ya kwamba niwapongeze viongozi ambao walikutana katika lile kamati na kuweza kujadili, hasa Senator kiongozi wa wengi Cheriot pamoja na Omugeni pamoja na wale wengine. Bi Speaker, Bi Speaker, mapendekezo ambayo walipendekeza kuhusu CDF, kuhusu GAF, kuhusu Senate Oversight Fund, Bi Speaker, mimi naunga mkono. Vile vile naunga mkono hii ofisi ambayo walipendekeza, ofisi ya kiongozi wa upinzani, Bi Speaker. Na vile vile mapendekezo ambayo walileta katika tume ya uchaguzi, Bi Speaker. Lakini Bi Speaker, ni kinaya kwa sababu ukiangalia wale ambao mambo yale ambao walienda kujadili, Bi Speaker, yangejadiliwa katika bunge hili, Bi Speaker, bila kupoteza muda na wakati. Bi Speaker, msingi ambao tunaweka katika nchi hii ya kusema ya kwamba ni mpaka kuwe na vurugu, fitina na si hali katika nchi yetu, Bi Speaker, ndio tuweze kukutana na kujadili mambo haya, Bi Speaker, inavunja moyo sana. Kwa mfano, mimi nikiangalia mapendekezo yote ambayo yamependekezwa hapa yangefanywa katika kamati zetu za bunge, na wale ambao walikuwa kiongoza haya maongezi, Bi Speaker, ni watu ambao wako katika bunge hili. Wale waliosema ya kwamba hayo mapendekezo yote yangeongewa katika bunge hili waligonga ndipo, Bi Speaker. Lakini tukiweka msingi kama huu, Bi Speaker, ati kila wakati vile vile ukikumbuka mwaka 1997 IPPG, ni vile vile kunakuwa na mvutano ndiposa watu wanaketi chini kuongea. Nasikia hata japokuwa vile vile mimi Bwana Bi Speaker nawapongeza viongozi hawa kwa kuketi chini. Bi Speaker, tumekuwa tukiketi hapa, mheshimiwa kiongozi wa wengi Senator Cheriot wamekuwa katika jumba hili na Senator wa kutoka Nyamira Omugeni, na wangeketi na waweze kuongea, Bi Speaker. Kwa hivyo si vizuri kwa sababu mambo haya yakiwekwa katika kumbukumbu itaonekana sisi tulikuwa tayari hatuelewi jambo ambalo tunapaswa kufanya, kwa sababu haya mapendekezo yote ambayo yameletwa hapa, Bi Speaker, ni mapendekezo ambayo tungeweza kuyafanya katika bunge hili, na vile vile kubadilisha katiba, pendekezo yatoka katika bunge hili. Kwa hivyo Bwana Speaker, naunga mkono, lakini nikiwa najua ya kwamba Eddie ambaye ameketi hapa, Bi Speaker, mimi nikiwa natoka kwa upande wa serikali na yeye akitoka upande wa upinzani, hakuna siku hata moja hatukuwa tukiongea na yeye. Tuliongea kwa utulivu katika kamati ambazo tunakutana. Kwa hivyo haya maneno ambayo Bwana Bi Speaker anasemwa ya kwamba ati ni utulivu, ati viongozi wakakutana, Bi Speaker, hiyo ni kinaya, kwa sababu Cheriot kila wakati wanaongea na kiongozi wa wachache katika bunge la kitaifa, Opiyo Wandayi. Bi Speaker, ni vizuri tuweze kuchunga rasilimali zetu na mali, na vile vile badala ya sisi ambao tumechaguliwa, Bwana Bi Speaker, kuchukua fursa na jukumu tuliopewa badala ya kufanya yale ambayo tunapaswa kufanya. Nasikia wengi wanaongea hapa kusema ya kwamba ati waliketi chini ndio waweze kuongea kuhusu gharama ya maisha. Bi Speaker, utaongeaje kuhusu gharama ya maisha, Bi Speaker, na hayo mambo tayari yalikuwa yamezingatiwa vizuri na serikali ilikuwa imeweka misingi ambayo ni dhabiti, Bwana Speaker. Tayari mambo ya mbolea bei ilikuwa imepunguzwa, na nataka kushukuru kwa sababu ukiangalia hata takriban gunia za mahindi ambazo tayari zimevunwa kwa sababu ya mbolea ambayo ilikuwa imepeanwa, Bi Speaker, iliweza kuonekana. Kwa hivyo Bi Speaker, tunaweza tukafanya mambo mengi hapa kuongea na kusema ya kwamba ndio tunapongeza, lakini mimi nikiangalia mapendekezo yote haya yaliyoletwa na kitabu hiki kikubwa kimeandikwa zaidi ya kurasa 500, Bi Speaker, haya mambo yangefanywa katika hili bunge, na tunakosewa Kenya heshima na shukrani kwa sababu walituchagia tufanye hii kazi. Baada ya sisi kuchaguliwa tufanye hii kazi, ndugu yangu Mheshimiwa Cheriot, seneta wetu, pamoja na Omogeni, badala ya kufanyia kazi yao hapa, wana moja kwa moja kiguu na njia mpaka Bomas of Kenya. Bi Speaker, inavunja moyo si kwangu tu mbali kwa Wakenya. Ndio nawapongeza, walifanya kazi nzuri, lakini kama wangeifanyia hapa na kuchunga mali ya Wakenya, Bi Speaker, ingekuwa ni bora zaidi. Kuendelea mbele, msingi tunaweka si mzuri, unavunja moyo, na si kwangu peke yangu, kwa Wakenya wote. Kwa sababu Wakenya ambao waliuawa katika maandamano, tutawaambia vipi? Walisaidika vipi na hizi pendekezo ambazo tunazileta hapa, Bi Speaker? Mali ambazo za Wakenya ambazo zilichomwa, Bi Speaker. Ni vizuri tuwe watu wanaongea ukweli na tuwe wakweli, si watu ambao, Bi Speaker, tunaficha maneno, tunasema maneno mengi. Lakini ni vizuri wanasema leta utulivu, kwa sababu Mswahili anasema wengi wape. Kwa hivyo mimi nasimama naunga mkono taarifa hii, na nasema isiwe jambo ambalo ni msingi ambao tunaweka ambao hautakuwa mzuri kwetu. Bi Speaker, naunga mkono na nasema asante.
Senator Faki.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii pia kuunga mkono ripoti ya kamati ya uwiano ambayo iliwasilishwa na kiongozi wa wengi katika bunge hili. Mheshimiwa Speaker, kwanza nitoe pongezi kwa viongozi wawili wakuu ambao walikubaliana kuwe na kamati hii, na vile vile pia wanakamati wote ambao walifanya kazi pamoja na watumishi wao kuhakikisha kwamba wamekuja na ripoti ambayo inakubalika. Mheshimiwa Speaker, nijiunge na katibu wa chama chetu cha ODM kwa japokuwa hii ripoti ina mambo mengi ambayo yamezungumziwa, kuna mambo ya kimsingi ambayo hayakutajwa, hayakuzungumziwa kwa ufasaha, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Moja wapo ikiwa ni kuongezeka kwa bei za bidhaa muhimu katika nchi yetu. Yaani gharama ya maisha imeweza kuongezeka marudufu kiasi ambacho wengi katika wananchi wa Kenya hawawezi kuweka mkate ama kuweka ugali katika meza yao kwa kila siku. Mheshimiwa Speaker, Bi Speaker, hiyo ni jambo la muhimu sana kwa sababu kuongezeka kwa gharama za maisha, Mheshimiwa Speaker, kunasababisha watu kupata shida kuweza kujikimu kimaisha. Wanafunzi wanakosa kwenda shule, Mheshimiwa Speaker, wagonjwa wanakosa matibabu, na hiyo yote imesababishwa na kuongezeka kwa bei za bidhaa muhimu na hiyo kuongezeka kwa maisha kwa jumla. Mheshimiwa Speaker, tukiangalia kwa mfano kuongezeka kwa gharama ya VAT kwa mafuta, Swala hili lilikuwa hapo awali katika mwaka 2018 nafikiri 19, na serikali iliyokuwa hapo wakati ule ilileta mswada katika bunge la kitaifa na ikapunguzwa kutoka 16% ikarejea mpaka 8%, na hivyo ikasababisha kupungua pakubwa kwa bei za bidhaa muhimu kama vile mafuta na mengineyo. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia katika magazeti yetu kila siku kuna ripoti kadha wa kadha ambazo zinaonesha ubadhirifu wa pesa za umma katika nchi yetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, utasikia leo kumetakana milioni 600 kurekebisha nyumba ya naibu wa rais. Leo kunatakana milioni ngapi kurekebisha wapi, kunatakana bilioni ngapi kurekebisha wapi. Zote hizo Mheshimiwa Spika ni pesa za umma ambazo zinafujwa na zinatumika kwa hali ambayo si ya kisawasawa. Wakati upande mwingine Mheshimiwa Spika, wale walala hoi wanaendelea kulala hoi na wanaendelea kupata shida, na wanaendelea kupata shida kusomesha watoto wao Mheshimiwa Spika, kiasi ambacho wengi wanakosa shule na wengi wanakuwa wakora ama wanakuwa majambazi, na hali yao maisha yanabadilika. Mheshimiwa Spika, wenzetu upande ule mwingine wamesema kwamba kwa sababu kulikuwa na vurugu wakati kabla ya kamati hii, basi wale ambao mali zao ziliharibiwa wanafaa waliporidhaa. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna maisha ambayo yalipotea. Na wengi wetu Mheshimiwa Spika walipigwa risasi na wakauliwa na vikosi vya usalama. Mheshimiwa Spika, hata kiongozi wa wachache aliwahi kushikwa wakati anatoka hapa bunge anakwenda katika nyumbani kwake asubuhi.